Hey everyone, Dredge here. Today we're going to be talking about Gray Zone Warfare and if it's worth actually picking up in 2025. We covering the good, the bad, some of my own personal observations, whether or not it's worth your hard-earned money. Let's get right into it. So in the background, I'm going to have some video from my most recent stream playing Gray Zone Warfare going, just so you can kind of get an idea of what it is that we're talking about. Firstly, I think that we need to address what Gray Zone Warfare is. It's not an extraction shooter. They bill it as not an extraction shooter. It's a PvPvE first person looter shooter with extraction style elements, meaning there is extractions. You have the option to extract, but you don't have to. Once you load into the game, you are in the game. It is one server instance, continuous. So you can go out on your mission, you can be there for an hour, you can be there for 8 hours, only ever having to go back to rearm, refit, get food, get water, get ammo. It's a very interesting take on this style of gameplay. Let's be real. 2025 is a war zone for shooter games right now. Every dev out there wants your time, your loyalty, and your trigger finger. Gray Zone Warfare burst onto the scene making some pretty big promises, but then, well, it stumbled. Classic early access, right? But jump to today, and Gray Zone looks very different. Huge updates like Winds of War have rolled in, and PvP has been cranked up to 11. And that huge map, it's even bigger now with over 60 new spots to explore. So the big question everyone's asking, has Gray Zone Warfare actually become the top dog shooter for 2025? Or is this all new and improved talk just, well, talk? So today we're going to look at it. We're going to break down the updates, look how it plays, see how it stacks up against the big boys, and see if it's worth your time. The extraction shooter scene is tough. It's ruthless, but man, is it popular. Games in this genre succeed or fail based on their gunfights, the gear you find, the addictive gameplay loop, and whether they can keep you coming back for more, even when it hurts. Gray Zone Warfare jumped in with a fresh take, a world that's always there, a heavy dose of realism, and a mix of fighting AI and other players. But let's not forget, it had a rough start. Performance issues and gameplay loops. Some players found it pretty dull and pretty frustrating, especially being camped on the helicopters. Fast forward to mid 2025, the devs, Madfinger Games, said that they've been listening and they've changed things and that they've delivered. That Winds of War update, they hyped it up as a total game changer. We're going to dig into those changes and see if it really did shake up the core gameplay. Is the new dynamic PvP system actually exciting, or is it just not work? Lemang Island, is it bigger and better, or just bigger and emptier? At the end of the day, we need to figure out if Gray Zone Warfare is where you should be spending your precious gaming hours this year, or if it's just another pretty game with big ideas that doesn't quite make it. All right, let's talk about the Winds of War update. This thing dropped spring of this year, and it wasn't just some minor patch. They built it as a total rework. One of the biggest things, a dynamic weather system, and I mean dynamic. We're talking realistic rain blurring your vision, smacking your scope, fog creeping through the jungle, storms that can turn a simple patrol into a nightmare. This isn't just for show either, it changes how you play. Trying to be sneaky, thunderstorm, or heavy fog could be your new best friend. Going for that long range shot, good luck when the winds are whipping and you can't see anything. Even the AI gets affected by this stuff. So their sight and their hearing take a hit. This adds a whole new layer of tactics and unpredictability, which honestly the game really needed. Beyond the weather, Winds of War also brought in combat outposts, or COPs for short. Think 38 forward operating bases scattered all over the island. These give you access to vendors, supplies, most importantly, respawns. So no more of that super frustrating chopper ride after you get killed. Taking and holding these cops now is a huge part of this game. They naturally become hotbeds for PvP action. The update didn't stop there. We got new guns, stuff people were asking for, like the SVD, the MP7, the MCX 300 Blackout, plus over 80 new weapon parts and attachments. They've also apparently tweaked the ballistics so that the bullets act more realistically in soft tissue, and there's even a new gut hit location to make combat feel less like you're shooting a sponge. On top of that, new armor, new gear, and some nice quality of life stuff like sorting your locker and better graphics settings for those of us not running a supercomputer. One thing I have noticed though, when they talked about tweaking the ballistics and making bullets act more realistically, is I have seen the AI enemies on the map take 3 or 4 relatively close headshots before they finally go down. It's cool seeing the new animation of them walking and stumbling and doing all that, but I feel that the headshot should be a headshot no matter which ammo type you're using. Just because I'm using the basic ammo doesn't mean that they should shrug off 5.56 to the nose. Just saying, kind of a gripe. Now, PvP in Warzone, let's be honest, it was a bit of a sore spot for a lot of folks. Many felt it was few and far between, almost like it wasn't a main focus in the game that had so much going for it with AI. The Winds of War update really tried to change that, putting PvP right in the spotlight. Those new combat outposts that we were talking about, they're a big part of it, naturally drawing players into contested areas. Maybe even bigger is the introduction of dynamic PvP hot zones. Basically, when a gunfight kicks off between factions, or even if your faction's guards start taking fire, a big red circle pops up on your map, showing you where the action is. But this PvP overhaul isn't universally loved. Some people are worried the game is leaning too heavily into PvP and away from its PvE strengths, turning into just another looter shooter. There's also some chatter about how these PvP fights play out. Some find them a bit samey, running into the same opponents again and again because of the new respawn system at the cops. Now, you're supposedly not able to respawn at a contested cop if enemies are right there or shooting at the AI, but the whole fight around these outposts can sometimes feel more like a grind than a smart tactical battle. So the question is still out there. Does this new PvP focus lead to awesome ongoing firefights, or does it take away from what made Grayzone unique in the first place? It's definitely easier to find a fight now, no doubt about it, but whether it's got that long-term appeal and good balance, still up for debate. The Mang Island was already huge and pretty stunning, and Winds of War made it even bigger, throwing in over 60 new places to check out. And we're not just talking more jungle. There's actual points of interest like a plane crash in the forest, hidden poppy fields, and even a strip club that pretty much everybody seems to really like. Don't know why. The idea is to make the island feel more packed with stuff, give you more to explore, and give you more different kinds of places for missions and firefights. They've also tweaked the looting system, so poking around these new areas should feel more worthwhile while getting better gear, drops, and things like that. With almost 300 quests in the game now, these new locations give you fresh objectives and stories to uncover, plus they've added rooms you need key cards and codes for, which is another nice touch for exploration and rewards. But here's the million-dollar question. Does all this new space add depth? A bigger map isn't always better if it feels empty or boring. The whole point of this expansion really comes down to how well these new spots tie into quests, PvP, and how you generally progress through the game. Does sneaking through a newly found rain-soaked ruin while trying to dodge enemy patrols actually feel tense and worth it? From what I'm seeing and hearing so far, it seems like these new points of interest are a hit, and they make the world feel way more immersive. Alright, we can't talk about Grayzone Warfare without talking about performance. From day one, the game had its struggles with optimization. Stutters, low frame rates, all sorts of bugs. It was a big hurdle for a lot of players trying to get into it. With the new Winds of War update and the patches since, Madfinger Games says their big push on optimization has really paid off. They even added new super low graphics settings to help out folks on less powerful PCs. A lot of players are saying it runs much better these days, and if you look at recent Steam reviews, they've shifted to mostly positive, which is a big step up from the mixed bag it was at launch. The devs also say they've squashed over 2,000 bugs since the game first came out. But, and this is a big but, Grayzone is still in early access. While things are better, some players still run into problems like memory leaks that tank your frame rate, big FPS drops when you aim down your sights, and the AI, definitely better than the old Terminator AI, and they have better hit reactions now, but even the devs admit they're constantly tweaking it. Some people still find the NPC behavior a bit unpredictable. The good news is the developers are really listening to what the community is saying, which is always great to see. They've got a pretty packed roadmap going beyond 2025 with big updates planned roughly every 6 months. This kind of commitment is definitely promising, but if you're thinking of jumping in now, you got to remember this game is still being built and things will change. Getting to that perfectly polished, super optimized state, still a work in progress. So, Grayzone Warfare has clearly changed a ton, but how does it actually measure up against the big players in this extraction shooter world, like Escape from Tarkov or other new games popping up in 2025? Grayzone Warfare is not a Tarkov killer. I'm sorry, but the only thing that can kill Tarkov is Tarkov. That's not to say that Madfinger Games isn't over there trying to unplug Tarkov's live support to charge their iPhone, if you know what I'm saying. Grayzone Warfare is definitely trying to do its own thing and find its own corner of the market. Its persistent open world where you don't have to extract and there are no round timers is a major difference. You can log in, do some missions, get into a scrap with other players, just wander around at your own speed. It's a world away from the super intense get in or lose everything vibe you get in games like Tarkov. Dying in Gray Zone Warfare doesn't feel like a kick in the nads every time you die like it does in Tarkov. It's a gut punch because you have to rearm, refit, but you can get back to your stuff and get back to your fight and get back to doing those missions a lot quicker than you can with Tarkov. You're not sitting back in the loading screens and the inventory system trying to re-gear for 15, 20 minutes because you got shot in the face 5 seconds into the damn raid, which is nice. When it comes to fighting AI and doing quests, Gray Zone generally has more to offer with its detailed quest system and unfolding story, which often takes a backseat in games that are all about PvP. Historically, where Gray Zone fell short was the number of players fighting each other and how intense these fights were, but Winds of War is clearly trying to fix that. While Tarkov's PvP is front and center and famously brutal, Gray Zone's team-based PvP in the open-world hot zones has a different feel. The new systems make it easier to find PvP, but the community is still figuring out if it consistently delivers the same heart-in-your-throat tension. On the technical side, Gray Zone's recent performance boosts are a big plus, especially since many other games in the genre also get flack for bug and optimizations, and the fact that the devs are active and listening to feedback, that's a big win for Gray Zone. Its main hook is still that immersive sandbox feel where just surviving and getting your missions done can often be more important than a mad dash to an extraction point. If Tarkov is like a high-stress, caffeine-fueled sprint, Gray Zone is more of a long-distance run in a world that feels alive. So we've broken down the huge changes, all the new things, the problems that are still hanging around. So what's the final verdict? Is Gray Zone Warfare worth picking up in 2025? Or is it a beautiful idea that just didn't pan out? It's definitely leaning much more towards a major positive turnaround than a flop. So let's break down a couple of pros and cons here. Pros, gameplay loop is way better than it used to be. Combat outposts, dynamic weather, easier task turn-ins have totally changed how the game plays and how it feels. PvP is easier to find, and I feel like it's a little bit more fun and less campy. It's a truly immersive and persistent world. Solid PvE experience, and the devs are listening and they have a plan and a roadmap of what they want and where they want to be. What's still rough about it? Performance isn't perfect. It's better for sure, but it's still a demanding game. If you're on a mid-range or older PC, you still might hit some snags. PvP balance and repetition. There's still some question marks about how repetitive PvP fights and your cops can get, and the overall balance in the game trying to please both PvP and PvE fans. It's still early access. The game is not finished. The CEO himself said earlier this year it's maybe only 20% done, so expect bugs, balance tweaks, and more changes as it grows. Is it changing its identity? The bigger focus on PvP might not sit well with players who were originally drawn to Gray Zone because it felt more focused on PvE and a slower pace. So final thoughts. Gray Zone Warfare is definitely not a flop. It's not even close. This game has seriously transformed itself over the past year, and mostly for the better. If you're someone who loves tactical gameplay, a persistent open world, PvE that actually means something, and now much more lively PvP, then Gray Zone Warfare in 2025 is a super compelling game and honestly pretty unique. It's clear the devs have listened to the players and made real, noticeable improvements. Now, is it hands down the ultimate extraction style shooter for every single person in 2025? That depends on what you're looking for. If you're a hardcore PvP player who just wants nonstop high adrenaline action above all else, some other games might still scratch that itch a bit more directly, even though Gray Zone is catching up fast. If you expect a perfectly polished, bug-free experience right out of the gate, then the early access tag might still cause you some headaches. But if you're looking for a deep, immersive tactical shooter that mixes PvE and PvP in a massive, ongoing sandbox world, then Gray Zone Warfare is absolutely a top pick. It's arguably one of the most exciting shooters you could be playing right now. Winds of War didn't just bring some fancy weather effects, it brought back a game with a new lease on life, one that's finally starting to show what it can really do. It successfully made its own mark, not just another extraction shooter, if you want to call it that, but a persistent world for tactical combat. So yeah, Gray Zone Warfare has come a long way. The devs have proven they're sticking with it, the community seems to be back on board and excited, and Lemang Island, it's more dangerous and full of life than it's ever been. That's just my take. What do you guys think? Drop a message in the comments. Let me know. You going to be playing Gray Zone? You coming back to Gray Zone? What are your thoughts on it? If this breakdown helped you out, do me a solid and hit that like button. Subscribe for more gameplay analysis like this, and definitely ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And be sure to catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TGDread. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe out there.